Caitlin Clark got a little get back at Kelsey Plum.
She was taking a shot.
Could not help but to drag Caitlin Clark through the glass as she did it.
0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
The WNBA is on a hot streak. They're finally turning a corner.
Kelsey Plum.
What just went down 2 minutes ago has the entire WNBA on edge. Kelsey Plum is probably sitting somewhere in tears because Caitlin Clark just completely annihilated her with the most ruthless, calculated takedown we've ever witnessed in women's basketball. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it because what Clark did wasn't just payback. It was a masterclass in dismantling anyone who dared to throw shade your way. And trust me, Plum got absolutely roasted. But before we unpack this explosive moment, hit that like button if you're 100% Team Caitlin, because after hearing this, there's no way you'll side with Plum anymore.
Sore losers and you have sore winners, and Kelsey Plum is both.
We want to blow them out. We're a lot better than them.
Watching for the league, we're really watching for Caitlin Clark. Everyone's going to be making more because of Caitlin Clark.
Caitlin Clark is the one bringing in the numbers.
Well, there's one that...
Let's rewind to where all of this chaos began, because this isn't just some random feud. This is pure jealousy, sabotage, and one woman's desperate attempt to dim the brightest star the WNBA has ever produced. It all kicked off at the WNBA All-Star Game, a moment that should have been a celebration of unity and women's basketball greatness. But instead, it spiraled into one of the nastiest displays of envy we've ever seen in sports. Players were pushing their "pay us what you owe us" movement, demanding the compensation they rightfully deserve, and honestly, they're 100% justified. But here's where Kelsey Plum revealed her true self and made arguably the biggest blunder of her career. During the press conference, with cameras rolling and the entire basketball world watching, Plum decided to throw shade at Caitlin Clark, without even having the guts to say her name.
But 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
Or her actually making comments about Caitlin Clark's team not being at this meeting for the CBA negotiation.
Took a shot at Caitlin Clark during that whole thing about Team Clark wasn't very present.
Yeah, I thought that was a little dig at Caitlin. A lot of people definitely thought so.
She was taking a shot at Caitlin Clark's situation involving the "pay us what you owe us."
But to say that Caitlin Clark didn't join in on the T-shirt discussion.
This week they wore T-shirts saying, making a statement, you better pay us. But instead of just leaving it at that, a Kelsey Plum for LA had to take a dig at Caitlin Clark. Here she is.
The T-shirt, just United Front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for, and not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
She dropped this loaded comment, claiming that 0 members of Team Clark were actively involved, referring to the salary negotiations and player activism. Can you even believe the nerve? She literally called out the one person who has brought more attention, more money, and more success to the WNBA than anyone in the league's 28-year history, trying to paint her as selfish and unsupportive. The manipulation was so blatant, so calculated, and so unbelievably dumb that even people who barely follow basketball could see right through it. But here's the kicker. Clark wasn't even playing in the All-Star Game. She was at home, recovering and handling her own business, with 0 obligation to show up and make symbolic gestures proving she supports player rights. The woman Clark has literally transformed the entire landscape of women's basketball, brought millions of new fans to the game, and single-handedly made the WNBA profitable for the first time ever. And Plum actually had the audacity to question her dedication. The level of disrespect was off the charts. But what came next? Pure entertainment. The reaction was immediate and savage. You could literally see Sabrina Ionescu's expression during that press conference, secondhand embarrassment written all over her face as she realized the mess Plum had just created. Even sports analyst Stacey King didn't hold back, calling out how absurd it was to throw shade at the league's golden goose. And he was 100% right. The numbers don't lie, folks. Since Caitlin Clark stepped into the WNBA, viewership has skyrocketed, merchandise sales have exploded, ticket prices have soared, and expansion team fees jumped from $50 million to $250 million practically overnight. This woman is the league's ultimate leverage in salary negotiations, and Plum just publicly attacked the WNBA's biggest asset. But here's where Clark proved she's not just a basketball phenom. She's a strategic mastermind playing chess while everyone else is stuck on checkers. Instead of lashing out with a messy public statement or diving into a social media war, Clark executed the ultimate power move: strategic silence. She let her success speak for itself, continued dominating headlines without even stepping on the court, and waited for the perfect moment to strike. And when that moment arrived, it was absolutely devastating. Right after all this controversy, Clark announced a massive global partnership with Nike, proving once again that brands will literally fight over the chance to be associated with her name. While Plum was busy trying to tear her down, Clark was busy building her empire even higher. But the ultimate knockout? When Clark saw Plum posting photos from a Nike event, remember, Plum is sponsored by Under Armour, Nike's rival. Clark dropped the most perfectly calculated comment that had the entire internet losing it. "Thank you for the Nike ad," Clark wrote. And let me tell you, the internet went absolutely wild. This wasn't just shade, it was surgical, precise destruction. In just 4 simple words, Clark exposed the total irony of an Under Armour athlete promoting Nike events while standing in the shadow of Nike's biggest basketball star. Clark's comment instantly blew up, thousands of likes in minutes, going viral across every platform, leaving basketball fans absolutely stunned at how effortlessly she flipped the script. Plum tried to embarrass Clark and ended up completely exposed, her jealousy and pettiness on full display. But here's the truly beautiful part. Clark continues to dominate every headline, every conversation, and every major business move in women's basketball without even trying. She's at the center of every WNBA discussion. Brands are literally throwing money at her, and she's raking in over $1 million in endorsements. While some veterans are still fighting for recognition, the corporate world sees what petty players refuse to admit. Clark is the future, the present, and the reason women's basketball is finally getting the respect and the money it deserves. Meanwhile, Kelsey Plum has been completely silent since Clark's Instagram comment, probably realizing she picked a fight with someone playing on a whole different level. The woman who tried to paint Clark as selfish and unsupportive just got schooled by someone who knows real power doesn't need to shout. It simply exists and lets the results do the talking. Clark's influence is so massive that even her smallest social media moves make front-page news, while Plum's attempts at relevance fall completely flat. But this isn't just about a personal feud. What we're witnessing is a systematic effort by some WNBA veterans to contain and control Caitlin Clark's meteoric rise, and it's spectacularly backfiring. Before Clark entered the league, the WNBA struggled with low ratings, minimal media coverage, and expansion fees that were a tiny fraction of today's numbers. Games were played in near-empty arenas. Merchandise barely sold, and the league had never turned a profit in its entire history. Then Clark arrived, and everything changed overnight. WNBA games started beating MLB and NHL in viewership. Jersey sales skyrocketed. Caitlin Clark's success benefits every player in the league. Yet some are attacking the very person who made higher salaries and bigger deals possible. She brought the fans, sponsors, media attention, and cultural relevance that give the WNBA leverage. Yet jealousy blinds her critics. Clark isn't just a basketball star. She's a born leader who turns every attack into fuel for greater success. While others get caught in petty feuds, she builds her brand, secures her future, and elevates women's basketball like no one else. The public sees through the drama and recognizes authentic greatness. Clark earned her spotlight with talent, work ethic, and unmatched IQ. Kelsey Plum learned the hard way. Class, skill, and strategy always win over jealousy and pettiness.